Hello and welcome to a new video. Today I have Joanna who's joined us, who has kindly agreed to be interviewed, and so we can get to know a little bit more about her and her background in English language teaching, online teaching, and also her tips and advice for online English language teaching. So thank you ever so much, Joanna, for agreeing to take part in today's interview.
Thank you
And
for having me.
you're welcome, and it's a pleasure to have you here. And hopefully the viewers here can learn a little bit more about your background, your
Mhm.
experience, and what you have to say when it comes down to online English language
Right.
teaching. Okay, well, I'm going to start off with our first question. And our first question is, could you tell me a bit more about your background
hmm
and what led you into English language teaching?
Well, to start off, I am not educated in English language teaching. My background is actually in engineering. I studied engineering, and I started when I don't know, I think when I was 20, I went into university where I started with a bachelor in environmental engineering, and then I enjoyed it. I liked the whole process of research, lab work, and everything. I went and also got my master's degree in environmental engineering, but unfortunately, once I started working, it was kind of uh, the expectations versus reality moment for me,
Hmm.
that it wasn't what I wanted. And then I lived in Poland, and my partner, maybe it's a little bit convoluted, I'm so sorry, but my partner
That's all right.
is in Spain, and I thought, fine, I'm going to join him. We've been together for so long. So I came to Spain, and I started teaching English because I thought I can speak English, and let's see, I have to start somewhere with some kind of job.
Mm.
And one academy took me under their wings, and they gave me this opportunity very quickly. I got this job after 2 days of being in Spain. So it was quite quick. I liked it. It was
Mm.
something that I felt that was it for me. So that's my
Wow.
background.
That's really interesting. So you're originally from Poland and you
Yes.
moved to Spain because of personal reasons and,
Yes.
that sort of thing. And what has been your background into the English language?
hmm
Obviously, English is perhaps your second or third
Yeah.
language. And, how has that journey been from maybe studying English
Mhm.
to teaching it?
Well, I started studying English when I was 6 years old, so very young. And it was just through songs, and it was like a fun class that we were singing Mary had a little lamb, or Head and Shoulders, Knees and Toes. And then we moved to learning grammar, like a normal typical class with course books. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed learning English. And when I was 16, we moved to Dubai. And that was when I finally realized that, because I thought that I was good at English when I was 16. I thought I had maybe B1, maybe B2 level. And then I went to an international school with teachers from all over the world and students from all over the world. I remember the moment when I thought, I don't think I understand. It was a little bit difficult at first, but just I was the only one from Poland in my year. So I had no choice. I started speaking English right away. We had to do everything in English. So in a way, it was like learning everything, like math, geography, biology from the beginning. I knew it in
Mm.
Polish, but suddenly I had to learn it in English. So it was like a big switch for me. But uh,
Mhm.
yeah, that's when I started speaking English on a daily basis. And I've been speaking English ever since. All my higher education was also done in English. So I kind of continued
Wow.
in this path.
It's a huge achievement, and quite a large undertaking to do to learn a subject or a number of subjects in a foreign language.
Yeah.
Not, many people from the UK would find it a huge challenge to study something which is not in their first language. And it's really interesting to see how you've had that journey yourself. And so going into language
Mm-hmm.
teaching, you mentioned you um, moved to Spain, and did you take any formal teacher training course when you moved to Spain or prior to?
Once I graduated from my bachelor's degree, I decided to kind of see what I can do after that. And I did one of those online courses. It was on
Hmm.
TEFL.org. And I did 100 hours, and it's okay. But I learned, I definitely learned how to plan a lesson. This for sure. There was
Hmm.
some support provided by some tutors. So I had a contact with someone, not face to face, by email,
Hmm.
but they corrected my planning and I passed. And that was, I think, the first time when I had something to do with English teaching. And then I have CELTA, which I got a year and a half after I started teaching English. So I already had some experience in a class.
Hmm. Right. Well, I'm going to move on to
Mhm.
our next question. And obviously, you've had some classroom experience, and
Yeah.
you've also had some online experience. And you're one of the teachers that I tend to follow on Twitter, and you seem to share quite a lot about online teaching. So I'm quite keen to learn a little bit more about where you see the future of English language teaching and where it's heading now.
I thought about this question for some time, and it's really hard. It's a very difficult question because, of course, the situation that we were all in kind of forced us to transition to teaching online. And that's what happened to me. This is how I started because I was at home
Hmm.
and my previous employer, he suggested that I can teach one group. He gave me back one group that I can teach online. So I had 2 hours a week. But after that, I see now that many people want to come back to the classroom. A lot of people miss
Mm.
this, and it's not the same online. But I hope, of course, as an online teacher, I hope it's going to stay. And I hope that I still have some kind of future online, because I actually prefer
Mhm.
teaching online. And actually yesterday, you can edit this out if you want, but yesterday I was watching a video podcast, and there were some people in a metaverse, and they were showing different rooms, and they had the VR set, and I thought, maybe this is some kind of sickness that I think about teaching in this moment, but I thought that this would be such a great opportunity to have like the not physical, but like being together in a room and walk
Mhm.
around, and you can actually go to separate parts of the room, that you don't have to be, like in a breakout room, that it's a little bit different to move someone, but you can actually walk away or mingle, and maybe
Mm.
something in this direction, that with some, maybe not metaverse, but something.
Yeah, something in a sort of virtual
Yeah,
environment or something like that.
that you have a
Yeah, that
classroom that someone can come in, maybe pay. Because I saw that they were paying to enter certain rooms, that, okay, I pay for the class, I have a teacher, and
okay.
I don't know. I had this wild thought yesterday.
Uh, Very interesting. I guess the concept of the future and where language teaching may head or
Hmm.
could head in the future is very much uncertain. Prior to the pandemic,
Yeah.
when for me personally, I've been teaching online for about 6 to 7 years
Hmm.
now, and so before the pandemic even ever hit, I gained some experience of teaching online, and it was mainly for students based in China,
Yeah.
where there was a greater demand for English language teachers, but the amount of teachers they had in country was far less than what they actually
Okay.
needed. So the only way around that was to get teachers to teach remotely, and all these teachers were based in their home country. And so for me, about 3 or 4 years before the pandemic, I'd been teaching online through a range of different organizations. And when I approached individual teachers or trainers, and I suggested, well, the CELTA course as it was then doesn't give you the expertise or the
Yeah.
experience to teach online. They said, well, it's not real teaching. It's nothing that should be taken seriously. But then
Yeah.
you fast forward a couple of years ahead and you go, well, actually, you know, um, it is a serious profession now.
Yeah.
Um,
And
yeah.
just to kind of add to what you said, I did my CELTA online.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did
That's
it
great.
I did it 100% online because I wanted to do it in person. And I looked into
Mm,
the blended courses because I was already working, so it was a little bit impossible for me to do it, to devote 1 month of my life and move to another city, because
hmm.
I lived in a small town in Spain that I would have to go somewhere. So it was impossible for me. And I got an email from one of the academies in Seville, because I had talked to them before, and they said it was in April of 2020, and they said, hey, you know that we are doing the online courses now. And I thought, okay, if not now, then when? But I was actually wondering, because okay, not to brag, I got a CELTA pass A.
That's
But
good.
yeah, that's very good. I was very excited because when I joined joined CELTA, I thought, what if they see me teaching and they say, you should stop, don't teach anymore, you are bad. But I saw that, okay, I'm actually not so bad. It was good to get some kind of validation from professionals. And
Yes.
I was wondering if I would get, if if I if I took this course in person, would I be as
Mm,
good? And I'm not sure.
mm.
I'm not sure, because there are some things that were easier online. For example,
Yeah,
time
yeah.
management, super easy. I had
Hmm.
everything written down in front of me, down to the minute, because of course it's
Right.
different when you teach like a real class without being observed by someone. But in here I had to follow. So I was really like following, looking down, saying, okay, so I have 2 more minutes, let's go, let's move them around. So I really thought about this, and
That's
I'm
interesting.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
really don't know.
Well,
Hmm.
I suppose under the Cambridge Guide,
Yeah.
everything has to be organized, and everything is um, quite stringent with their
Hmm.
marking and criteria. But it's a good point that you've made. The assessment criteria and how different it is on an online platform versus
Hmm.
a face-to-face
And also,
environment.
like just managing the technology. If something
Mm,
goes wrong, if someone can't open something, you have to be quick. So this wouldn't
yeah.
have been a problem in person. I just put a piece of paper in front of you and everyone understands. But in here, sometimes there were people who didn't know, who couldn't follow. So it was okay, there were challenges, but they didn't take it into consideration. That's what they said. That our knowledge of
Mm.
technology is not assessed.
Okay. So knowledge of technology isn't
Yeah.
assessed on this
No, no, no,
online
it's not.
CELTA
No. Which was, I think,
because
bad.
I would consider it quite important because
Yeah.
it's a soft skill that you need to have when you're teaching online, of course.
Yeah. And it
Yeah.
really affected a few teachers for sure, that they had
Mm.
a bad experience because of their lack of knowledge. So I
All
don't know,
right.
just another tangent. Sorry.
No, that's all right. Well, obviously you run what I consider quite a um, engaging and interesting website yourself, and it comes to you share a lot of ideas and lesson plans and that sort of thing on your main website. Um, you know, uh, you've introduced yourself into online teaching, but could you tell
Yeah.
me a bit more about your website itself and what you tend to share?
Oh, I I remember this idea started a year ago, more than a year ago, in like maybe April or May of 2021. And I was just kind of thinking about it. I wasn't sure. But then I decided, because I was already working, I was working at an academy, and I had many plans that I had prepared myself. And I thought, okay, maybe I can share it with someone. It's not just this, I don't know, if you have a Valentine's Day lesson, it's just for me for this one class and then into my drawer, and that's it. And see you next year. So I thought, no, I think I can maybe just write about it and upload it and see what happens. And that was basically the idea of it. And I also felt the need to kind of speak about what I do, who I am, and my experiences. But I think it's just because of my personality and nothing. I didn't think that I would engage people. That wasn't, I think, the idea of it. I just wanted also to connect with some people and see if I can meet someone else and just exchange ideas. That was basically it.
And so how long has your website been going now? Has it been just over a year?
Over a year. Yeah, a little bit over a year.
Yeah. And obviously, how do you feel when it comes down to uptake with your website and, you know, the engagement from other language teachers? How has that been?
I guess it depends. Sometimes very good, and sometimes it has not nothing. There's always someone clicking on the website, but the engagement on the website is not, it's not there really. Like the comments are not there, the likes are not there. So I sometimes feel like, oh, I'm just writing for myself, but you can see the statistics. So I feel like, okay, someone is actually seeing it, someone is looking at this. I can see that someone downloaded some of my stuff. So I feel a little bit more validated that what I do is for someone. That
yes,
I think I just need some space for me to write.
Well, for me personally, I run my own website, and the website is there as a sort of like a sort of diary, or sort of just for me to offload some ideas and share it. But like you mentioned, it doesn't really generate many likes.
No.
I do get a few likes or just a few comments from time to time, but then when I look at the statistics, it's, you know, a couple of hundred a day or so. So it's like, okay, there's some interest there. It's gaining some traction. And I think when it comes down to running your own website, it's not really about the clicking the like or commenting, which is the important aspect. It's really about you know, how many are actually accessing and how many are coming through to your website, and to judge the success on the like or the comment is not really going to yield much success in itself. It's set up for disappointment in a way, but yeah, it's an interesting point.
I think if you do it just for fun, or because, as you said, it's kind of like your diary, you're not looking for it. It's more like a nice surprise if someone comments. I'm not looking for it. If I get an email, I say, oh, that's very nice, let's see. And then, but if you look at are you on WordPress? What website do you use?
I'm on WordPress as well.
All right. So there is one of those tabs, and you can see comments. And when I click there and I see spam, well, that's where I get all my comments.
I think it's also just limited to those that are using WordPress. For those that are outside the WordPress environment, then they won't necessarily be able to click the like or really contribute a comment in some way. But
I think
I'm
they
not
can.
sure.
I think they have to put their email address, so maybe not everyone wants to do it. Because if I can just put a nickname, it's a bit easier. But this kind of removes you are someone then to me. And I see it, and maybe not everyone wants to do it. Not everyone wants to share this information with me, which I get. It's fine.
That's trying to remain anonymous on online is one thing, I suppose.
But the
anyway.
comments are lovely. I haven't received anything bad.
That's good.
Out of the 10 comments that I have, all of them are nice.
Well, Moving forward to maybe the difference between face to face and online,
Mhm.
we kind of touched upon it slightly, but what do you think are the main differences or maybe similarities between online and face to face teaching?
It is somewhat with Zoom and breakout rooms, you can mimic the classroom. It's not all that bad. But I think in the classroom, of course, students are a bit closer together. They can chat from time to time. The concept of mingling is much easier. So some activities are off the table. Yeah, you can't play certain games. It's a bit more difficult, or you actually have to introduce some kind of technology to do it. Another thing, not everyone will understand the technology that you introduce, which also can be a little
Mm.
bit tough.
I'm quite surprised between you know, naturally I would assume younger learners or particularly learners who are, you know, young adults would
Mhm.
have greater um,
Understanding.
technological understanding,
Mhm.
comprehension. But when it comes down to certain activities or trying to get something completed, that assumption seems to fail because they're not
Yeah.
necessarily going to be that good or that you know, not as good as myself as an online teacher for them to complete it.
Mhm. For me, another problem was I taught kids for 3 weeks online because I had to stay
Mm,
at home. I couldn't travel to the academy. And I often did some projects with them. And that was another thing that I had to say, okay, now grab a piece of paper and some markers. And
mm.
because they're kids, and I think they need to do it on, like, they need to touch things.
Yeah,
So
something tactile or
yes, they
kinesthetic,
have
of
to be
course.
together, they have to play, they have to run, they have to jump. And to me, this was something that I couldn't, I didn't know how to figure it out. For
Yeah.
sure, it's a possibility, but unfortunately, I never got there.
Mm. I think the biggest difference for me for online teaching and face to face teaching is, for example, a reading that I would do in class, you know,
Hmm.
a variety of different ways or methods to um, approach a reading. But I would, within an online environment, I would tend to give that to the student before the lesson
Hmm.
or after the lesson, and for them to come back and then review the answers. So a sort of flipped approach in a way.
For me, it depends
Uh,
on students because some of them they want to do it with me in the class just because they don't have
mhm,
time. And I also understand that. I work primarily with adults, so I understand that they have to go to work and not everyone has the time during the
mhm.
day to read something. And some of them want to read it
Yes,
to
yeah.
me also out loud. And they just say, can you please work on my pronunciation? And sometimes I don't want to do that because I want them, I say, no, I
Yeah.
want you to think about it, think what you're reading. And they say, no, 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 I want pronunciation.
Well, let's move on to
Mhm.
online teaching itself then. And so, you know, I came across you because you're involved with the same platform that I've
Yeah.
been involved with for over a year now, which is Preply or Preply,
I,
however you want to
I
pronounce
say
it.
it Preply. That's what I've heard. And
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
likewise. Preply, yeah,
Hmm.
but there's two variations to the pronunciation, and
Hmm.
anyway, could you tell me a bit more about how you got involved? Maybe the advantages and disadvantages of Preply
Yeah.
for those that are involved with this platform.
Well, I came across that platform when I was looking for some online students. Last year in September, I decided to not work for anyone else. I decided to work for myself, which had the biggest disadvantage of them all, finding my own students, which is not easy. I thought it would have,
Yes.
I really, I had this imagination, like I had this image in my head that everyone will come to me. Oh, Joanna is teaching. Let's create groups. No, it was a little bit different. And I had a few students, and then I was looking for more. I didn't feel like I am making the money that I would like to. And I came across Preply. I think I saw it on we. I remember I was with my partner watching TV, and we saw an ad for Preply.
On TV.
Yeah, in Spain.
Wow.
So I thought, okay, let's. The ad was for Spanish students, so there was a funny joke how they can't pronounce a word, and I thought, okay, let's see. And I signed up, and then I did everything. But when I saw the video part, I stopped and I thought, this is, oof, I need some preparation. Because I really thought it's a bit easier, but it required a bit more preparation. So I stopped this process for maybe 2 weeks, and I needed to think about it, and I was debating what should I do.
Mhm.
And I finally recorded the video, I uploaded it, and within an hour, I had students, and which was
Wow.
crazy to me. And then and of course I started with a low price, and immediately I changed. I said, no, we have to, if the ball is rolling, let's let's see. And immediately after, I think after 2 days, I increased the prices, and I've had students ever since. So that's a big advantage
Mm,
for me. I
mm,
know that this is not the case for everyone.
mm. And when it comes down to the strategy of maybe pricing on
Mhm.
Preply, you mentioned when you first signed up and joined, your price was quite low, to
Not
maybe
as low as they
entice.
suggested, because they suggest
Well,
$8.
mm,
And I thought, no, no
wow,
way, this is not
no,
happening. Yeah, so I
no,
went a little
no.
bit higher, and still not as high as I would like to. But yes, I think this is the main, this is not maybe the only way, but I think it's one of, actually, yeah, this is the main way of getting some kind of students with you, because you need reviews, you
Mm.
need those, it shows how many online classes you have had. So you want the super tutor badge, whatever it means, but you
Yes,
want all those things. So I think you have to
of
start
course.
somewhere.
I remember when I first started on, well, I signed up on Preply years ago, and I never
Mhm.
really completed my profile, so that it was just redundant. It was
Yeah.
hidden for a number of years, and then when things started to become a little unknown, quite precarious with regards to language teaching,
Mhm.
I decided to reactivate my account, and I had to do everything that was required. I had to do a sort of ID check
Yeah,
with Preply.
yes.
I had to show my passport or and and my address and all sorts of things. So they do their checks and balances
I
behind the scenes, I
understand. I think
suppose.
if you hire someone, or if you allow someone to be on your platform,
Mhm.
you should know, or at least have some kind
Of
of
course.
information about them, so you know that you're not hiring a completely random person.
Yes. And then so that took me an afternoon,
Mm.
and I done that, and then the next day I decided, okay, I need to record my own introduction video, and I recorded my introduction video in like a short time. It
Mhm.
was probably about 10 minutes or so, and then I put it into an editing program and
Yeah.
edited it down, and then that was that. And my account was active, and I kept my rate as well. It was $20 per hour. That's about
Mm.
what I started out with.
You
um,
started out better than I did. My self-esteem wasn't there when I started. I started with, I thought, okay, let's see 10. And I got 2 students,
yeah,
and I thought, okay, something's happening. And I put 12, and then I got another student, and then I put 20 immediately. And I thought, no, this is it.
yeah.
I'm not,
And I think
not,
for
yeah.
I
No, it's
think for
okay.
anyone that's done a CELTA or a recognized qualification for language teaching, they should put the minimum rate they should put should be $20 per
Mhm.
hour. If you're pricing yourself below what should be expected, then you're going to be enticing or interesting students that aren't really the same sort of caliber that you want to be
Yeah.
teaching in a way.
I
Um,
agree. It sounds in a way a little bit awful, and I'm glad you said it.
yes.
But it's true. I saw it. I saw difference. I saw this difference between students who sign up for $10 and students who sign up for 25. And the
Yeah.
ones for 25 are a little bit more serious. They need it for work. They have a stable job. And for 10,
Yeah.
you have some people who it's a little bit different. They are nice people, but the teaching
Yeah.
quality, I guess, or the learning quality as well is a little bit different.
With the platform Preply itself, then, what do you think are the main advantages to working through this platform?
Well, the main advantages, I think, well, of course, I think they give you a lot of opportunities if you work there for some time, or if you have enough hours. Then I realized that after 60 hours, I started receiving some kind of emails that, oh, maybe you want to do this, or do you want to teach group lessons? And I thought, okay,
Hmm.
this is, are you teaching group lessons on Preply?
No, I've not been invited to group lessons yet.
I think
um,
that's shocking
yeah.
to me, actually, that.
Well, it might be down to the case that I'm being, or because it's a new sort of feature that's been incorporated into Preply. This summer's been incredibly busy for me returning back into the
Mm-hmm.
classroom. So the the number of hours that I've been teaching through Preply have been greatly reduced.
Yeah.
So maybe in the autumn, winter periods, it may arise. But yeah, I'm quite curious about group teaching, I suppose, and what that led to.
It was great. Or if you have or it used to be a bit better, because I realized, or I learned recently, that it was a beta version. So they were testing it
Right.
on us. So I think I just got lucky. I just won a
Yeah.
Preply lottery, I guess. And at first, I must say, it was great because you have access to a separate, like a tab, where you can see all
Mm-hmm.
the group lessons. And before, there were so many that you could sign up for as many as you would like to. And
Mm-hmm.
the prices were set based on your current rate minus the commission,
Of
of
course.
course. And if no one signed up for classes, the lessons were canceled 24 hours before, and you received
Mm-hmm.
50% of your rate after the commission. And no one signed up for those lessons. So I went a little bit crazy with that because I thought, wow, no one signs up. It's right there. So I will just join the classes, and the
Mm-hmm.
money was constantly coming in. It wasn't a lot, but I didn't have to
Yes.
teach those lessons. And then they changed it, and they realized that not many people signed up. So there are fewer classes now, and
Mm-hmm.
I have to go and check this tab frequently to actually see if there's anything available now, because I'm not sure when they
Right.
update the lessons. I don't know. It's never available to me.
Yeah. There's a number of things that have been updated quite recently through
Yeah.
their website, their platform, which is really good to see. And they've started to increase the number of updates more regularly now than compared to maybe 12 months ago, which is
Mhm.
great. I suppose the only things that I've been involved with through Preply, or the things that they've invited me to do, were to do
The
English
conference.
learning videos and the conference, of
Ah,
course. And
yeah.
so they asked me to record a video for their Preply channel, 2 videos for language learning. And
Uh-huh.
one was how to tell the time, and the other, I can't remember what that was about, but I guess introducing yourself or something like that. And the conference where I just put my name forward and they said, yep, and that was it. What about the disadvantages then? So, as with any balanced view,
Yeah,
it's got advantages and some have disadvantages.
there are quite a few, I think. And I'm not the only one who thinks that, because I talked to my students, and I also wanted to know their experience, and they had quite a few things to say. But
Mm,
the platform itself, it's okay, it's fine, but sometimes I have some problems with connection. Sometimes the
mhm.
whiteboard just completely disappears. Sometimes things don't load over there, and I close it, I
Yeah.
open it, I refresh, and I say, can you see it, please? If not, I send it in the chat. But I had twice or maybe 3 times already a problem that a student couldn't log in. Like they entered the classroom, but they couldn't join the class. So I just sent them a Zoom link, and that's it. That was solved in this way.
So the technical
Yeah.
aspects are quite challenging.
Also, when you
Um,
change the rates of classes, that's also a little bit annoying, because I don't know. Have you changed the prices for anyone?
I've tried to, but it's kind of a sort of chicken and egg situation,
Yeah.
because you say you change the rate and the student has to agree to the new
Yes.
rate. And if they don't, it still keeps to the old rate. And so I find it quite difficult. So I go to students and I say, well, this is my new rate. And if you feel it's out of your budget, then I would recommend that you find an
Someone
alternative
else. Yeah.
tutor. Yeah. So I find it's quite difficult to approach students to say my rates are going up because of X, Y, and Z, or that sort of thing.
My students understood. I must say that I sent them a message. I didn't want it to be a surprise, and I wanted them.
Yeah.
I gave them some time, and I said, "Look, think about it. Of course, I want you to stay with me, but
Yeah.
it is what it is." And all of them agreed, but no, not all of them accepted.
Yeah.
And that was the
Yeah.
problem. And I really tried many times, changing and changing and changing, and they don't accept, and the price stays the same. And I feel a little bit helpless.
Yeah.
What do I do now?
It would be a lot easier if Preply were able to offer across the board a price change, so that it doesn't require a student to accept it. They could say, okay, the price has gone up, I decline, I'll find another tutor.
But at the same time, I can see how someone could abuse the system.
That's true. That's true.
I could just put a crazy price and, oh, now you have to pay me. But I don't agree with the confirmation that they have to say yes, accept my prices. And also, if you want to change the prices, you have to cancel all scheduled lessons.
Yes, that's a bit clunky in a way when it comes down to.
So I normally wait, and because I don't want to, I would have to write it down. Some of them, they have scheduled classes for a month in advance.
Yes.
And I feel like it's a lot of work on my side to cancel every single class and then book it again.
In a previous video that I created, probably one of the videos which has seen a lot of interest is maybe the review of Preply that I did online. And one of the disadvantages I found was the non-payment for trial classes, particularly if it's successful. And a lot, 90% of the students that attend my trial are converted into students, and all of that is unpaid. It's an hour of work, plus whatever you do outside before the lesson, and I find it quite exasperating to say, well, actually, I'm not getting paid for any of the work or the sales that I'm generating, which benefit both the company and myself. And there needs to be a sort of agreement.
It's especially bad when you start and you have to have students and you spend first 10 hours of teaching for free. So you're just spending the whole week teaching for Preply, but you have nothing out of it. Well, nothing. You get students, fine, but I don't see it as like a good solution for me.
And also the commission rate kind of is really high initially, and then it kind of reduces by the amount of lessons that you've taught over, or the amount of hours that you've taught over a period of time.
It's fine, but I feel like after the 400 hours, when you hit the last commission rate, you have nothing else looking forward to. It should be maybe 1,000 hours more, because it is rewarding. It feels good. I can see how I'm trying to understand them, why they do it like this. And of course, I'm using the platform for free. So I know that they
Yeah,
have to maintain it. They give me students. That's okay. But I would like to have something to look forward to after the 400 hours.
of course. Yeah, yeah, me too. You know, I've hit over, I think it's 500 or 600 hours of
Mhm.
teaching now online. And the good thing is that the trial lessons are also included within
Yeah,
the
that's
hours
true.
as well.
That's true.
Um, um, so for me, it would be great to have a 1,000 hour
Bonus,
teaching
some kind of, you get
sort of
$100.
bonus, yeah, or a sort of like 10% commission or
Yeah.
something like that, or a sort of badge on your name. I think that would be marvelous to have.
Yeah.
We'll move on to our next question.
Mhm.
And the next question is what advice do you have for those starting out in online English language teaching?
It's another difficult question. It's hard to say. Get some invest. First of all, invest in some equipment, that's for sure. Good microphone, good headphones, a laptop or a computer that can handle this kind of work. If especially if you're going to
Mhm.
work for many hours a day, you need something that is reliable and of course in a good and stable internet connection. that's
Mm.
that's a must. If you don't have that, I think.
The initial experience that I had of teaching online with, you know, for a number of years, I realized that actually I need a really good internet
Yeah.
connection first. And, you know, the equipment is important, um, and, and things gradually increased. Of course, I didn't, you know, I've got a webcam here that I'm
Mhm.
using for this interview, which is nice, but I use my main laptop webcam, which is 720p, which is kind of fuzzy and
I
not
am
as
using
great
right
as
now my laptop webcam. Yeah.
and, you know, it's kind of small, and I
Yeah.
used the main microphone from the laptop,
Oh.
which worked, and
Mhm.
it was all right. But then after about a year, I said, okay, I'm going to buy a new um, webcam, and then okay, I'm going to buy a microphone and then make it more professional, I
Yeah.
suppose. And the students kind of comment on, okay, you know, I'm really impressed on the equipment you use and that sort of thing. And I think the more you invest in the equipment and the students recognize that, it's for the better in a way, isn't it?
I think the microphone is crucial in here because with a bad
Mm.
microphone, if there is one person in a Zoom meeting or in a class who sounds, you can hear this person without any beeping or buzzing or any
Mm.
disruptions, it should be the teacher. So I think the microphone is definitely a must in here. I also
Mm.
invested. I bought maybe nothing special, but I have a microphone next to me, and I hope it
Oh,
sounds more or less
that's good.
fine.
It sounds perfectly fine to me. What sort of microphones would you recommend for new teachers, and what sort of budget would you
I
say that
paid for
is
mine.
acceptable?
Well, acceptable. Anything. Well, I live in Spain, so I will say it in euro. I'm sorry, but about 30 to 50 euros is something that you need to pay and read opinions and read
Mhm.
any reviews what people say about the microphone, because apparently this one was for podcasts and
Mm.
people said that it was great to start a podcast, and I thought, okay, if it's good for a podcast, it will be good for for teaching on Zoom. And I think it is. I think I haven't heard any complaints from my students.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
good. And out of curiosity, what is your microphone? What is the setup that you have?
Hmm. The setup. Basic. The microphone. I'm sorry, I can't tell. I can maybe send you afterwards, but I don't know the name of
Sure.
this microphone. I can just show. It looks like this. So it's right next to me.
That's
It's okay. It's good. It's good. I don't know I'm so sorry. I'm not technical
that's
at
all
all.
right.
The headphones I bought very basic ones. I think one of the cheapest ones,
Mhm.
that because I had different ones before, but they were squeezing my head a little bit too much and it hurt after the whole
Mm.
day. So I needed something a little bit more loose around, especially that I wear glasses. It can be a little bit painful
Mhm.
at the end of the day. And my setup very basic.
Mm.
I don't want to show. I think.
Very basic.
No, and also
That's all right.
invest.
That's
I think you
okay.
should also
That's all
invest
right.
in a good chair. And I think these are the main things for
That
starting teaching online.
that's true. I remember, when was it? 6 years ago, I bought a really big, clunky chair that was, it was basically a gaming chair. My wife went, "Why are you buying this?" I said, "Well, I'm sitting down for ages. I need something comfortable." And I spent, I think it was about 150 quid. It was
Hmm.
so silly. And um, but it was a really nice, comfy chair, but just really heavy.
Yeah, but you have a very nice background, and I think this is another thing, that your background is very nice and clean, and you have a sofa and a piano. It tells something about you, and I think that's another, that
Mhm.
this is something I need to work on. And I've been talking about it for some time with my partner. He just doesn't want to cooperate with me.
When it comes down, because when I put my head down onto a YouTube video, I think about, okay, what sort of things should I have in the background which
Mhm.
kind of complement. And in a way, online teaching, when you're using the camera, it has the same sort of effect.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's definitely an icebreaker, or some kind of conversation starter. If you have a poster, which I
Mm.
wish. I still, for now, it's only, there are only some markings on the wall that this is where we're going to make some holes. So far, that's it. So we are still working on
Okay.
that. But yes, that would be the main advice. And another advice for online teaching, maybe a bit more related to education. I think it's also good to invest in some kind of, maybe I'm going to step into another
Hmm.
question that I saw. Invest in some websites that offer you lesson plans. So
Hmm.
you save some time, and or you get some ideas online, which is also great. And there are so many good websites that you can use, and you don't have to
Yeah.
spend a lot of time preparing a class.
And I suppose one website would be yours, I suppose,
Oh.
for teachers looking to look at, to discover lessons and
Sure, if
ideas and inspiration.
I always think about it as in, you don't have to take it one to one. Make some changes,
Mm.
look at it, think about what kind of students you have, how many students, and rearrange. If you don't like an activity, fine. It's fine with me. Just because it works in my classroom, it doesn't mean it's going to work in yours. So I think
Mm.
you should really look into those lesson plans and think about them, and try to change it just a little bit.
Well, moving on to our next
Mhm.
question then, about resources, websites, materials. What would you recommend for new teachers or online, or for those teachers that want to get into online teaching?
What kind of websites do you mean?
Yeah, websites, materials,
Mhm.
resources.
So I wrote them down in case I mean, I know them, but I wanted to have them in here. First of all, and I know that you use this one too, Lingua House is very good. The course, sometimes I think they have also courses based on, they go in order by lesson. So
Hmm.
if you pay for the website or for the subscription, you really have a lot of materials there. I also like using ESL Brains. Yeah, have you used them before?
No, I haven't. No, no, I'm going to make a note now.
uh, I think they are nice. They use normally some, they are, they have lesson plans and activities centered around materials, authentic material. So you get a
Hmm.
website, and you can send an article to read at home, or watch a video. So I sometimes find
Mm.
inspiration over there too. Another one, Tim's free English lesson plans. Love this website.
Wow. Okay.
He's also on Twitter, I think, because I'm not sure about his
Yeah,
Twitter handle, but his lesson plans are also very good.
that's great. The good thing about websites and people sharing their own
Mhm.
ideas is, um, it's really trying to help each other, or share the resources that you
Mhm.
have. Also, it's such a great portfolio to create, because that can lead on to other opportunities if you're writing your own lessons, such as materials writing, and with the growing need of online
Mhm.
courses, there's a growing need for um, materials writers nowadays as well.
Well, one day.
one day.
Still, I'm still waiting. No, I think I talked to Pete. His name is,
Ah,
you know,
Peter,
yes,
ELT planning. Yeah,
exactly. Yes, yes. I'm so
yeah.
sorry, Pete. And we talked.
No,
I
that's all
read
right.
his. I read his post the other day, and he talked about different ways in which he got into material writing, and I found it very
Yeah,
inspirational. And that he just got people randomly messaging him and saying, "Oh, I like your content. Can you write something for me?"
yeah. It's so nice to see because I'm not sure if you're aware, but I used to work with Pete
Oh,
a couple
no,
of well,
I'm
not a couple of years ago, but a number of years ago. I used to work with him. He was
mm,
a great colleague of mine,
oh,
and I said to him one day, we were both sitting in the staff room, and I said, "Look, you need to start making your own website and share your own
mhm.
ideas online." And he says, "Why would I do that?" And and I'm so glad that he persevered and carried on, and I was able to influence him because he's generated such a good uh, following on Twitter and with his website now. And he's just such a lovely chap to sit down and have a chat with as well.
I wasn't aware of that. That you knew each other personally. It
Yeah.
just came to my mind right now when I saw you know, when you asked me the question, because
Yeah,
he's another person that I also follow, and I
yeah.
enjoy his posts.
So we've got ESL Brains, Lingua House, Tim's free English
Lesson
lesson
plans.
plans.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other resources, any materials, websites that you refer to
Of
for online teaching?
I also use like TED videos. Sometimes I just
Hmm.
go through random articles, and if I find an article that I like and I think, oh, this will work well in my classroom, then I also use that. So I also just you have to read like the Washington Post from time to time or the New York Times and to find some kind of inspiration
Yeah.
there. But otherwise, I use like course books as well. And I use them mostly to give
Hmm.
myself some kind of structure, because students really want to know what's going to happen next. And they want to see that there is some kind of
Mm.
flow, and not just me finding random classes online and putting it together that day.
Hmm. When it comes down to course books, would you use online course books, ebooks, I suppose, or do you pay for access to course books?
I have access to course books. Yes, I worked this year
Hmm.
with one academy that was. I used to work for them, and then they offered me a few hours and they gave me access. So I didn't have to pay, but I had access,
Mm.
and I don't ask students to buy those books. I take materials that I enjoy or exercises that I like, and then I use
Hmm.
those. But I don't follow it religiously. I don't follow like, oh, now this one and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it has to be like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, because I've noticed that Pearson, the publishers, are starting to create material for online
Mm-hmm.
teaching. They're starting to come up. They're starting to realize that online teachers need a sort of course book which can be accessed both for the student remotely as well as for the teacher that is teaching remotely. Also, yeah.
Cambridge Press also does this, because this year I worked
Yes.
with Open World, the new course
Okay.
book by the Cambridge Press, and
Hmm.
my students had their own version of the book, and I had my own. So
Hmm.
we've already done that. So yeah, I can
That's
see
good.
how
Yeah.
there's some transition.
And that's good to see with things evolving as they
Mhm.
are now with online teaching. Considering it was maybe a sort of a vanity project many years ago, with people deriding online teaching as
Yeah.
a sort of not a real profession in a way.
Yeah. I hope it
um,
will keep on evolving and not stop right now. I put a lot
yeah,
of
I
energy and
hope
effort
so.
into this.
It's not going to go anywhere, and
Yeah, I
it's
hope so.
only going to continue.
Mm.
And when I look at like the university that I work with, they're offering not just face-to-face courses, but also remote
Yeah.
courses. online courses, and it just makes perfect economic sense nowadays, where students prefer to stay in their home country but also complete an undergraduate or postgraduate degree
Mhm.
in their home country, whereas they don't have to pay the expense of traveling far away, pay for their tuition fees and accommodation and living costs. They could just stay in their home country, continue with their work or whatever they
Mm.
want to do, and also do their courses remotely.
It
It's the
also makes
future, I
sense. I
guess.
think it also makes sense for teachers because when I was working a year ago, I worked in Alicante, and I live 50 kilometers away from Alicante. So I was doing 100 kilometers every single day. And no one paid me for
Wow.
that. Not time and not petrol.
Yeah.
So this was coming out of my salary every month.
Well, the final question that I've got is, what challenges do you see the English language teaching industry facing in the coming years?
I realized, or maybe I don't know if it's a challenge in what you exactly say, but I realized that a lot of people now talk about maybe other way. Sorry, trying to make an
Mhm.
answer that is appropriate. What challenges? What do you think? Maybe you will get me started.
I think one of the biggest challenges that's facing the industry now, um, looking at a Anglo perspective, is how unfortunately Brexit has impacted on English teaching
Yeah.
face to face.
I I didn't think of about this because it doesn't concern me. Maybe that's why it
Um,
hadn't occurred to me.
so, what would have traditionally been students travelling from Europe with not requiring a passport, just an ID, a
Yeah.
European ID card, to enter the UK, to go to language school for a couple of weeks and then return back to their home country, is now a lot more complicated, and it involves a lot more of a burden financially,
Mm-hmm.
economically, um, where they have to pay for a passport, they have to go through, they have to get a visa to go and study in the UK, no matter how long they're there for, whether it's a week, 2, 6 months. There's less students willing, especially when you've put COVID into the mix
Mm-hmm.
as well. There's less students willing to travel to the UK. And so these brick and mortar schools will have difficulty filling in the school with students, whereas maybe remotely they
Mm-hmm.
could run a full course.
Yeah.
Um,
I wanted to actually comment on that, but looking from my perspective of a person living in Spain. And yes, I never thought about this because, as I said, it didn't affect me in any way. But there were a lot of academies really struggling to get teachers. And normally they would
mhm,
ask for, anyone come and teach in our academies, which is, it happens a lot in Spain, that a lot of people
mm,
from Great Britain, or not only from Great Britain, but usually from the UK, came and had no problems getting a job. And now they say, we are not paying
mhm,
for your visa. So if you don't have a visa, don't come, don't apply. So they
yeah.
had a problem with that, and they started asking other people. So now people like me have a bit more. We have more
Mm.
opportunities now, let's say, because we can teach without having a visa.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity, and it helps. In the UK, on the other
Yeah.
side,
Yes.
what would have been, you know, teachers coming to the UK for the summer months from Europe, um,
Mm-hmm.
what are considered non-native teachers, are, they're unable to enter the UK because the employer has to sponsor the
Yes. It's the
employee.
same in here. Yeah. Right now.
And so, you know, there's a there's a lack of people willing to work for language schools in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
It's only home country based teachers that are willing to come in and to teach. You've got a variety of other uh, aspects involved with language teaching, all the economics, I
Mm-hmm.
suppose, because now we've got the economic crisis that's sweeping through the UK and Europe and the
Yeah.
rest of the world. And it makes it less lucrative than it was 5 years ago. So it I have been teaching both in the university and at a language school this summer, and the university itself is uh, trying to accommodate students that are coming or
Mm-hmm.
to engage with courses remotely. And the private language school were struggling to find teachers to teach for the sort of salary that they were offering, which is not a lot when you
Yeah.
consider the sort of qualifications and the professional development and the time and money that you've invested in what you're doing. You know, and with inflation starting to rise, you go, well, teachers, unfortunately, during the pandemic, during COVID, moved on from teaching to other professions,
Yeah.
and there's a lack of teachers now.
I fully
Um,
understand. And in Spain, it's the same, I feel.
mm,
The normal salary and the normal rate per hour at an academy is 10 euros per hour.
gosh, yeah,
That's a normal rate in a big city. Maybe if you're
yeah,
lucky, you will get 12 or 13. But
gosh,
to me, this
it's
makes
nothing
no
to live by, really.
no. One time I
No,
went to a job interview a year ago. I went to a job interview, and the owner of the academy asked me if if I have a second income. And I said nope. And
really,
I think thank
wow.
you. I say no more. But at least
But
she was being
I,
honest.
yeah. And I think, for teachers that want to go into online teaching, particularly with Preply or,
Yeah,
through their own means, you can set a rate which is what you think is commensurate to your experience and
yeah.
qualifications. And it's a lot more than uh, brick and mortar schools. So
Mm.
I'm in the sort of uh, I'm in the situation where I think, well, do I want to work for a school or educational institute earning a certain amount, or could I earn more
Yeah,
per hour working for myself?
yeah. That's the reason why I started teaching online. Because it is really hard to make a
Mm,
living working part-time for 10 euros an hour.
yeah,
It's absolutely
yeah,
nothing. And then you have to pay for all of the expenses yourself.
yeah,
So
yeah.
absolutely makes zero
That's true.
sense. And no one pays for the preparation time neither. That's another thing. It's
Yes,
they just
yes, that's
expect me
true.
to walk in and I don't know from where, just have a class in my head, everything ready.
Yeah.
But
And I think next year things will get a lot more difficult. This is where I see the future
no.
going. Things will get very difficult for language schools. Teachers will start to walk away because they're not getting remunerated the
Yeah.
correct amount, and they'll end up deciding to set up their own business and offer classes to students, which are both cheaper for the students but also more rewarding for yourself as well.
We'll see.
Uh,
For now, I think I'm just going to stay online. I do miss teaching in person. I must say that I miss
Mhm,
having colleagues next to me, like working with other
mhm.
teachers, having the meetings. It's nice, but at the same time, it's not worth it at the moment.
Well, do you have any other questions or?
No, I think I wrote only CELTA online that I wanted to mention it, and the Preply groups, but I think we've covered everything.
That's great. Well,
Yeah.
thank you ever so much for joining today's interview.
No,
I
thank you.
really appreciate it. It's been really interesting to hear about your experiences and how you've been involved with online teaching, your thoughts, and you know, um, and yeah, thank you ever so much.
Thank you. I hope I did well. I was really worried about it. I thought, oh, what if you know, there is this aspect of being put online as well that I
Of
was a bit
course.
worried about. And We'll see. Why not?
You see. Well, for everyone that's been watching, thank you ever so much for joining us today with Joanna. And if you've got any questions that you want to ask Joanna, feel free to add those questions in the comments.
Hmm?
Um, and also, if you haven't subscribed already, hit the subscribe button. You may see a pop up with a notification bell, and it will tell you next time I upload a new video. It'd be great if you hit that notification bell so you're one of the first viewers to see a new video. And yeah, hit the like button, and I'll see you soon. And
That's,
I have to finish it off there with that sort of thing. But
I know,
yeah,
I
thank you.
understand. I understand. I'm subscribed. I'm subscribed, if anything. I'm not sure if I have the notification though, but for sure I'm subscribed. I really enjoy your vlogs, like the more relaxed ones.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate that. It was just a new style for me because it's more of a talking head style video that I tend to do, but the vlog was a bit more spontaneous, I guess, ad hoc.
I liked it. It felt more like listening, because when you have the talking head, it's more professional, and he was just a
Mm.
normal person talking about. No, of course you're a normal person. It's not what I'm trying to say, but it's like it breaks some kind of boundary, I guess.
Mm,
That we see
yeah.
you just walking around and enjoying the weather, and I like the stops and feeding the horses. It was very nice.
Yeah, thank you. I'll have to build up the courage to go out and do that in the UK. Because I felt in France, yeah, I can just walk out and it doesn't matter who sees me because I don't live here.
That's true. That's true. Maybe you can start by going somewhere else in the UK where no one knows.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
We'll see.